I'm Max, and welcome on the Cardano Community Podcast. Today we have as guest, Sean Alimov, a New York Cardano Ambassador. Sean hosted a meetup a week ago with Nathan Karzar, chairman of the Cardano Foundation in New York. And today we are going to discuss how the meetup went, but also some interesting things like economics in the Cardano ecosystem, otherwise known as Adonomics, and which events could move the price up and down. Without further ado, welcome on the show, Sean, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. So, go ahead. Sorry.
Let's begin by introducing yourself to the audience.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Alimov. I'm a Cardano Ambassador from New York, Brooklyn. Mostly, I do moderation stuff online. I help out with the meetups in the city with Fred Smalls on the forum. He mostly does all of the work. I just show up and help out.
Nice work.
Yeah, I just for moral support, I'm there. So we had
go on.
We had a meetup recently in the city. Nathan Kaiser showed up. It was a lot of fun. He talked about the Cardano ambassadors and the just their role in general. He wanted to spread out the roles of Cardano ambassadors for developers and maybe like professionals like lawyers and accountants. He was talking about how we might have need for like Cardano ambassador accountants, Cardano ambassador lawyers and stuff like that, developers. So that was a lot of fun. It was very interesting to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I saw that you put the videos on YouTube of the meetup. And yeah, it was really interesting to hear him talk about the subject, because you could imagine in the future having like kind of ecosystem of Cardano ambassadors who are helping each other building on Cardano. And I think, yeah, it's an interesting idea and it's an interesting way of building a community and, yeah, having a rock solid community.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be great. It's not just like a cryptocurrency we're building. We're really building a community.
Definitely.
It's going to be like a Cardano world, Cardano planet.
Hopefully. Now, how many people attended? Because I saw there were like 10, 20 people in the room on the videos, but it wasn't clear how many.
At least 20, maybe 30 people. I wasn't counting, but yeah. I think the Boston meetup got like a huge attendance compared to us, but
Yeah, but I think 20 to 30 people is already really great. I think if I were to organize your meetup in Belgium, like if one person would show up, it would already be a huge success. So 20 to 30 people is already pretty huge, actually. When you think about it, if you convince 20 to 30 people, and then these 20 or 30 people convince each other, like 2 or 3 people, it spreads and it grows. So I think it's a good initiative from your side. Now, let's speak about the interesting subject, which is the price. I just want to warn the audience, we are not going to speak about price predictions.
Oh, sure. No advice.
Yeah, because it's a pretty sensitive subject, and yeah, I usually try to avoid the subject because it's not really what you could call a healthy subject. But my first question in regards with that is, do you think the Shelley release will have a positive impact on the price? And if yes, how?
Oh yeah, for sure. So Shelley release basically transitions us from federated state to decentralized state, which makes us like an actual cryptocurrency, like the soul of cryptocurrency is decentralization.
A real cryptocurrency, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, and not like Libra or anything like that. So Coinbase, I see that happening. I know they're working on it. So once we're fully decentralized, one of the requirements to get on Coinbase is decentralization. So that'll definitely impact the price. Well, yeah, it feels a little strange to talk about price actually.
Yeah,
Say it out loud.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I think the good times are coming. Once the staking begins, the incentives,
yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah. Besides, I mean, the Bitcoin halving is like happening in May, and we're still sort of like coupled with it. So once Bitcoin goes up, we have to go up as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's kind of like 2020 looks really great for Cardano because you have staking, which is like early 2020. Then you have just after, like around like March, April, just before the halving, you have Goguen,
Yep.
and so just before the halving, Cardano will be fully usable and like really have a network decentralized with smart contracts, um, which is really great. I think in regards with staking, the interesting aspects on the price. And indeed, it feels a bit weird to talk about the price like that. But the interesting aspect is that first you will have people delegating to stake pools,
Mhm.
and even if they can still move their ADA around, I think it will have kind of like scare. It will bring kind of like scarcity to Cardano. And the second, and that's the most interesting part, is that you will have all these stake pools pledging ADA and kind of like locking it up for every epoch.
Mhm.
Um, because when a stake pool basically pledges ADA, they can only touch it at the end of every epoch, which
Yeah.
means that you have a scarcity mechanism, and which is really interesting in my opinion. Now, I don't think you have to go like too think about it too positively, if I may say it like that, about it, because I know there are a lot of projects like, for example, EOS or Loom Network, which have like total lock of your funds when you stake them, and they are also suffering from the bear market. They are also they also lost a lot of value. So I don't think it's the one thing which will maintain its price high and
Sure, but it's part of it.
yeah,
I mean, if you think about it, there's a real incentive to keep your ADA because you want to
definitely,
accumulate
definitely.
more ADA through staking. Also, with all the payment options that are happening now, you'll be able to spend your ADA just
Yeah. Yes, it's great. It was that video from the Cardano Foundation where they showed how you'll be able to pay through Koti, I think it's called, which is really great actually.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that will drive adoption, uh, for sure. I mean, there's so much going on. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah. I think it's especially great coming from the Cardano Foundation because they received a lot of criticism in the past,
Mhm.
telling them they weren't doing anything when actually they are doing a lot, but behind the scenes.
That's true. Yeah.
Uh, and it's great to see them being active and showing that they actually are delivering some products and things that are really great. Um,
So
now,
it's kind of cool that
yeah,
they're actually now you can submit requests for funding now. I mean, they have a
yeah,
process for that. So that's kind of cool. I mean, if you want to develop something, you just submit an application and you can work with them. I mean, they do have the funds to play with. So
yeah, they are pretty wealthy actually, and especially like the Cardano Foundation. I think it will be a kind of like you have these startup incubators. Well, I see in the way being at the Cardano Foundation, it's kind of not a startup incubator, but also driving adoption and making sure the Cardano network is used more and more by developers and also by users. Because at the end of the day, it's thanks to incubators like, I don't know, like Techstars and Y Combinator and these kind of things that we saw startups like Airbnb and these kind of stuff. And I think, yeah, the Cardano Foundation could play a major role in regards with that. And it's especially interesting when, for example, in Morigo, they are more doing it themselves, the work, while the Cardano Foundation outsources the work and gives it to the community in a certain way,
Yeah.
which is a really interesting way of doing things.
Yeah, Cardano Foundation is definitely more like a community side of things. They build the community.
Yeah.
Emergo is more like a business side. They develop relationships, and IOHK is really the product like development. They build the stuff. I mean, really the major milestones definitely going to be Goguen part. Once we have the smart contracts, I mean, it's going to be a whole
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
Yeah,
So how do you feel about the current state of the cryptocurrencies, like all in general?
I'm pretty positive actually. With China announcing that they are going to be starting to work on blockchain, and it's especially interesting when you see that Xi Jinping said in his speech that blockchain was the next thing, and then the day after, like all these newspapers in China talk about it, all these universities start blockchain programs and all stuff, and it's
Bitcoin goes up to 9,000 again.
yeah,
all the Vegeta memes pop up.
Yeah. It's amazing how fast it can go. Like a few days before, everyone was saying like, "Oh, we are going to 6K. It's Bitcoin is dead." we are definitely still in the bear market, and it's just going up. And I think that's especially interesting because it shows that all the kind of like economic indicators people use, like in stocks and all stuff, are definitely not usable with Bitcoin. It's totally different. It's another way of doing things, and it's completely irrational because when you got things starting, like for example, backed or these kind of things, which we talked about months we talked about it, and when it finally started, there's nothing. So
I mean,
I think
I think China is a huge part of Bitcoin, like drives the price of Bitcoin for sure. I mean, if you think about it, historically, China's used Bitcoin to like hedge their bets against, for example, the U.S. dollar and the Hong Kong dollar, right? They're pegged to each other, and the peg is almost not sustainable at this point. They've used up like 80% of their reserves to defend the peg, and now they don't have enough money. I mean, eventually it's going to crash. And people, Chinese investors, are going to use Bitcoin to like hedge their bets. I mean, I think that's what happened in at the height in 2019 with the price diving, right? I mean, that's what all the Chinese investors just took all that money and put it in Bitcoin because they worry about the Hong Kong dollar crashing.
Definitely, and I think what's especially interesting about China is that you have 1.5 billion people, and that's like it's a powerhouse. It's like they are so huge, and when you get such a country involved in blockchain and like going massive into it, it's whoa, it's huge.
And with all the trade wars and everything, I mean, Iran is using Bitcoin to bypass these.
There are rumors, we don't know about it. But I think it's especially interesting how everything is like playing out with like strategy and how these countries are like playing it.
You definitely see things coming together. I mean, like when iPhone 10 has like an app out of the box that supports currencies, and on the other side, I mean, just so many things are coming together. I think it's gonna be a perfect storm around May next year.
Yeah, it's a puzzle, and I think 2020 looks great for crypto, and I think the following years too. Actually, I'm definitely not worried about the future of cryptocurrencies. And I saw this morning on Twitter someone telling that altcoins were going to die because people were going to rush into Bitcoin once all these states starts releasing their cryptocurrencies. And I definitely don't believe it.
No, I don't see that.
Certainly, when you think about that, the fact that, for example, like the scaling solution we have been talking about since years now, the Lightning Network has major problems because there is no incentive in having um, a Lightning Network channel because it's just not profitable.
Right.
You don't receive anything in return. It's like a non-profitable proof-of-stake mechanism, and it's just not an incentive for people to open a channel. And so people will need other types of mechanisms which allow them to exchange value in a fully still decentralized way, but also scalable way, which Bitcoin currently is not, and which apparently is going to be difficult to be for Bitcoin to be scalable.
I mean, Bitcoin is just the first generation of cryptocurrencies, right? I mean,
Definitely.
we're way past that now. We're in the third generation. Once Cardano goes off, I don't see any competitors. I mean, everyone else will be lagging a couple of years behind. I mean, it's impossible to catch up.
Yeah, I think it also depends of how you see it. I think Ethereum, while there is a lot of FUD, is not doing pretty bad. There's a lot of FUD, okay, but they're still alive,
Yeah,
and I'm 100% sure they will manage. I don't know how, but they will to release staking in 2020. And you have also like competitors. I think it also depends on the use cases. You have, for example, Algorand, which is also pretty advanced. For example, Hashgraph, which is like totally the same thing, super centralized, but which has also a huge amount of partnerships with big companies like Boeing, for example, or Deutsche Telekom. And then you have also like other types of networks, like for example Libra or Cosmos or Definity, which are quite new and quite different. So I think Cardano will, one of the leaders, but I doubt it will be like the leader, and that all the other ones will be far behind.
No, I don't think of it as like the king of the hill. It's more like a bridge.
Yeah,
It's going to bring everyone together. I mean, it is
definitely.
It is planned to be interrupted with all cryptocurrencies. I think, except for Ethereum, right? What did Charles say that he doesn't want? He doesn't want to support Ethereum because it's going to die out eventually. Cardano's going to replace it. I mean, it's hilarious. We don't want to support a project that's dying. I mean, I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Charles is kind of like a pro for saying these kind of things. Yeah, and I'm still, by the way, hoping he will eat his shoe, even if Shelley will be released on testnets.
I mean,
the
shoe is not so bad.
Yeah, definitely. I really hope so. Now, to come back to the dynamics and the effect of Shelley and the price, I think what's especially interesting is that by around like March, April, sorry. Mars is it's how we say it in French. Sorry, I was confused. By the time of March, April, Goguen will be released, and then you will start having like smart contracts, and then people will really be able to use ADA on a network.
Yeah.
And at that stage, Ethereum and Cardano will be on the same stage. And so that's where it becomes really interesting, because around like, I guess, September or October, you will have like Basho, and then by the end of the year you have Voltaire. And
I mean, that's very positive. I'm not sure if that's gonna. I think that might take a little bit longer to do. I mean, honestly, I think this is probably gonna take maybe a year or two to completely finish. Like, from where I'm standing, I don't think it's gonna be that easy. But
you have Shelley on. Shelley by the early 2020. Goguen is apparently like ready. It's just they are just waiting for Shelley to be released, and then they're going to release it.
yeah,
So Goguen, let's say Goguen is for March.
okay.
Let's say they take 6 months to finish Basho, release it. 6 months. That's September.
Uh-huh.
and I'll say they take another 6 months to release Voltaire. That's around February, March, um, February, March 2021. So, I think they could be able to do it with a little bit of delay.
Well, it could. I mean, I certainly hope so. I mean, it's my
Yeah,
bet.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, the voting the scheme, the whole thing, it sounds pretty complicated to get people to like come in and actually start voting on things. That might take a little.
Yeah, yeah. I think that.
There are experts that you can trust, right? That you can delegate your vote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's especially interesting because it will kind of be like an experiment where we'll see how
For
this
sure.
play out. And I think the most interesting aspect is how stake pools are going to kind of start doing like kind of like politics when you think about it, because they will be basically politicians.
Right.
And so we will have like left-wing stake pools and then right-wing stake pools and then Republicans, Democrats.
You think about it, it's a real social experiment because there's never been like a liquid democracy that's actually
Definitely
implemented.
actually working and with real people using it. So
Right.
yeah, definitely. I'm definitely impatient to see how this will play out, and I'm especially interested in knowing how IOHK is designing that. Like, how are they thinking about it? How can they just like, because it's never been done, so they can't base their assumptions on something because it's never been done. So
Right.
you kind of have to experiment and see how it plays out. So
Definitely will be interesting for sure.
yeah, it will be fun to watch. But I think you have also already networks like, for example, Cosmos or Tezos, which already have governance and which are already working not bad, from what I know. So it works. So yeah, I'm definitely impatient for that.
Yeah,
And
and it's so cool to see like it's not so much as competitive, but the different cryptocurrencies, the things that they do, right? I mean, it's all open source, so you see something really cool that somebody's doing, you can like you can take it, you can steal it, you can implement it, and
yeah,
improve.
definitely. Yeah, and it's especially interesting in regards with Ouroboros, because there's another big project actually, which is going to go live the next couple of months, I think, which is called Coda Protocol, and which is basically a project which tries to have make like tiny blockchains, and they are based on Ouroboros.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting how people are starting to use. Sorry, I have things in my eyes. How people are going to start using Ouroboros and start building on things which IOHK made,
Right.
and then you start seeing as Cardano as a reference in the blockchain world, and it's great to start seeing
Yeah, for
people
sure.
building on it.
I mean, the regulator is gonna love Cardano. I mean, it's built on solid ground, so I mean, it's perfect for people.
Yeah, I think what's the most interesting thing in regards with Cardano is that it's secure. it's based on mathematics. It's formal verification, peer reviewed. There's everything you need, so you can be 100% sure that it's secure. And especially with proof of stake, that will be very interesting. And there is one specific subject which is especially interesting in regards with staking, is how what people will choose between staking ADA
Mhm.
and, for example, lending their ADA like in a DeFi protocol, for example, in a decentralized finance protocol,
Mhm.
because current rates offer on decentralized finance protocols like, I guess, something like 6 to 8%, which I highly doubt ADA will be able to deliver when staking.
Mhm.
So it will be interesting to see what people actually do. Do people actually stake their ADA, or do they prefer to make more profits and not participate in the network. That will be
Right. But
fun to watch.
yeah, once we have the smart contracts, I mean, they're just going to use it to build things. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
so what's the Cardano community like in Belgium? I mean,
I think I'm the only one actually. Never saw someone from the Cardano community in Belgium. Never online. I mean, and of course not in the real world. But yeah, I hope there are some other people here in the Cardano community in Belgium. I know there is not a huge community, but still a community in the Netherlands, and also a little community which is more like diverse in France. But in Belgium, there's nothing. Sorry?
Sorry, and you say you speak French, right?
Yeah, I speak Dutch and French.
Wow, that's so cool. You speak Dutch, French, and English.
Yeah. I'm a school in Dutch, and yeah, my parents speak French, so I learned the 3 languages, and you have to speak English to understand cryptocurrencies, so that's a must. But
that's amazing. That's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, but to come back to the main subject, I think I still don't understand how there aren't more people here in Brussels or Belgium or in Europe actually speaking about Cardano stuff, because at the end of the day, Brussels is literally the capital of Europe. You have all these European districts and all that stuff. It's here in Brussels.
Right.
And I still have the impression that I'm the only one here in Brussels speaking about Cardano. So yeah, I still hope there will be more people here in Belgium about speaking about Cardano.
And it's the last meetup that I was in, I noticed like a trend. It's very weird. We're such a weird group of people, because I would look around and everybody in the room would be tall and slim. No one would use the extra large T-shirts that we have, and it's a very specific group of people. They're like in their 20s to 30s, very tall, slim, athletic, and like computer science type, but not geeky. It's weird.
Yeah, and also usually also men, and I think that's also weird how
90% men.
Yeah, how there aren't a lot of women in crypto, and
yes, but hopefully. Well, not yet. Not as now.
Yeah, not yet. I really hope there will be, because we need diversity, and I think women have a different way of thinking, which can bring kind of like a counter way of thinking to balance.
Absolutely.
Out. But yeah, it's still weird how people aren't actually. How there aren't any women in crypto. It's just weird. All the CEOs, they're all men. All the product managers, usually 100% of the time, it's a man. CTOs, 90% of the time, it's a man.
I mean, that's a different mentality. I mean, I'm pretty sure at that level, it's like so competitive that you need to give up certain things just to maintain that level.
Definitely.
And for I guess for women who would like to have families and kids, that could be like a trade-off that's really worth it. So I'm not.
Yeah, certainly in the world of startups, where like you have to work like every single day, and like you have no holidays, that's like all the time. And so yeah, to have a family life, it can be more difficult.
Sure.
Okay, so I think this was a really great interview. I just noticed we spoke about a lot of things, very diverse.
We were all over the place, yes.
Yeah. It was the meetup, Shelley, and then the woman, and then Belgium, and pretty funny. Now, thank you for coming on the show, Sean. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Yes, it's always fun to come on the podcast. Yeah, I'll definitely recommend it to anyone who wants to. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely. Thank you. We will, for the audience, we will meet back next week with another episode on the Cardano Community Podcast. YouTube channel.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for listening to these episodes. It was Max. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, so the episode is not finished. No, it's not finished. Sean has something to tell you.
Yes. So I started the Cardano Community Runners Club in the city. If anybody wants to join, basically we'll be running for Cardano. We're wearing the Cardano t-shirts and we'll be running marathons or maybe a little shorter races. And for each runner that joins, the Cardano Foundation will donate on the behalf of the runner to a educational program in developing countries. I actually have my medal here from running on Saturday. I ran the race. I finished in Brooklyn Marathon. I actually finished
Congratulations.
4 hours 35 minutes. It took me a long time.
Oh, you are motivated. I wouldn't be able to run such a long amount of time.
It was crazy. I mean, the day before, I just spent the whole day in bed, and I still feel some pain in my joints. But it was a lot of fun to run. I mean, you probably can see the few pictures from the marathon that I sent to the Cardano Foundation.
Yeah, we will include a link down below so that you can see how to participate in this initiative.
Yeah, for sure. So if anybody in the city, and there are a lot of people that are into Cardano and into like running and stuff, let's get together and run for a cause, represent Cardano.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Sean. Bye.